Hey moms and dads, it's Dr. Scott back here with the next episode in the Back to School Success Series. So this one here is a great one here, and that'll help your children tremendously to have a really good, powerful, and really healthy school year. We got to address sleep. And so this is something where many moms and dads don't even know how much sleep their kids need. So we want to make sure that we address this, because this one here is all about sleep, how much, and then the best sleep routines. So let's dig right in here. I'm going to go ahead and start up a slide deck so we can talk in more depth about the important things that we need to know. So as we move through here, we're going to set the context for we need to know how much sleep our kids need and the things that can affect how much sleep they need. So first and foremost, it varies widely based upon their age, lifestyle, and overall health status. The second factors would be things like how much they're exercising, the intensity of their exercise, and the frequency of the exercise. So the harder they're exercising, the more frequently they're exercising and playing sports, the more rest they're going to need. Other factor, which is a big one, is how much stress are the kids under? And let's give context to stress. Stress is not just, I'm having a bad day, things aren't going well, right? Stress is also, how hard am I pushing? Am I getting sufficient rest? Is the pace of life just going? Am I on medications? Am I dealing with things where I'm just juggling on a lot of different things at once? What is going on in life that is causing me to be on overdrive? And that's what stress really is. So it's a multifaceted animal, and having a good handle on where your child is in stress mode will also give you a better indication as to how much sleep they need, if they need to have more, or if they can go with a little bit less. So we're going to be citing a few different facts here that came directly from the National Sleep Foundation study. This study took over 2 years to complete, thousands of people involved in it. So when we go through the graph of how much sleep is needed, this will give you a very succinct graph, framework for how much sleep that your kids really do need on a day-to-day basis. So guidelines are pretty clear on this. So for newborns 0 to 3 months, they are supposed to be sleeping anywhere from 14 to 17 hours each day. And so I know the old graph on here shows that it was previously 12 to 18, but this 14 to 17 is much more in line with what we even teach here for all of the newborns that we work with. Infants 4 to 11 months, typically the range will go to 12 to 15, which is also pretty consistent. Toddlers 1 to 2 years, sleep range 11 to 14 hours. Again, also very consistent. And you tend to find that a lot of kids will start getting into around that more consistent 12-hour between 1 and 2, but then we'll still want to take naps. So when you start looking at these total sleep numbers, these include nighttime sleeps and naps for all of the newborns, infants, and toddlers. Now, when you get into your preschool age kids, so 10 to 13 is a really good number. And so typically when kids are in that 3 to 4, sometimes even in the 5-year-old range, when they are either in preschool, perhaps pre-K, some kids even transitioning into kindergarten. Minimum that you're going to want to try and get them is a bare minimum of 10 hours. Sometimes in their classes, they may still have nap times if they are in extended stays with pre-K, if they're going like a full day in pre-K. But in kindergarten, since most kids are attending a full day kindergarten, then there's usually going to be some allotment for nap time. You might find when they get home that they might be pretty tired, but it's important, and we'll talk about this later, that we try not to allow them to go and have late day naps, because it will definitely negatively impact their sleep schedule. So making sure that we start their time early enough to get them the allotment. The one thing that we want to make sure with our school age kids, right, preschoolers, school age kids, is that they're not waking up tired. So when we go in and do their wake ups, it should not be one of those things where we're waking up and they take forever to get up. They should be refreshed. They should be able to come out of bed pretty easily, right? Not saying they won't be in deep sleep, right? But we want to make sure there's enough sleep given so that when they wake up, they're pretty quick to spring and pretty lively pretty quickly. When you get into more the typical school age kids, that range will go down to between 9 and 11 hours of sleep. So this is a pretty good range, and this is what we find with most of the kids that we work with, that 9 to 11 hour range is a very solid range where most kids are recuperating enough, and they're also taking into account things they need for school recovery, growth recovery, all of those things. So when you get into the teenage years, you find 8 to 10 hours is pretty sufficient. I know, we all have been through that ourselves, where when we were teenagers, where we may get those 12-hour stretches, but a lot of those tend to come when we're trying to make up for periods of lost sleep. So in our school-age kids and teenagers, trying to keep in those consistent schedules is important. Teenagers, obviously, it's going to be a little more difficult, but especially with our school-age kids, it's going to be super important to make sure that during these phases of critical development, lots of growth, that we keep them on a pretty tight sleep schedule. So the categories here with younger adults, the sleep range is typically between 7 and 9 hours, and so they just added this category here. This is something that's new with this addition to this study, but it's also important to realize that this is an important range because some younger adults are still in a phase of growth. So some men will grow up until they're in their early 20s, but it's also still critical for us to be able to have management for healing and cognitive processing, because this is also periods of time when we're in college with many kids. So getting enough sleep helps with memory processing, managing the function of our immune system, things along that lines. So adults 26 to 64, this didn't change, 7 to 9 hours is an ideal. And then older adults, 7 to 8. And so they narrow these down, but the big thing that you always want to keep in mind is that we want to manage sleep rhythm. And we'll dig a little more into that because the sleep rhythm is really important, making sure that our circadian rhythms are allowed to go from one cycle to the next to completion. So a couple of really important things to keep in mind. And I know a lot of us have really been working hard on trying to get our kids back into a better sleep schedule, but the same bedtime and wake time is really important. And as much as possible, even keeping them into a weekend sleep schedule so that when they go back into their weekday routine, it's not hard. Practice a relaxing bedtime ritual, and it can be things as simple as read a book, just having wind down time where maybe you rub their back, or you have some time where they're laying in the bed before they go to sleep, just wind down time where lights are dim. It can be just chatter time where you're recapping the day, but having that wind down time where their brain can switch gears, go from that state of arousal so that they're not going to bed and the mind is still racing. Keeping light out is really important. One of the things that many folks don't know is that our skin cells actually have light receptors. And so if we have bright lights, it will actually prevent our brain from going into deep sleep, because it's the same reason why many of us as adults, when the sunlight hits our bodies or starts to enter our room, we wake up, because there's a section of our brain that is solely devoted to light response. And so once light enters, we're awake. In older kids, really important that we try and avoid naps in the afternoon if they're having trouble getting to sleep. Try and make sure that if they are going to get naps, we try and do it earlier in the day, so that the last half of the day, they literally just have time to use up that remaining stored energy and then get ready for bedtime. Exercise is super important. Kids need tons of exercise, and days with low activity will make it obviously more difficult to get to sleep, as we've all witnessed, especially for those of you that are here in the Cleveland area. We know that when the kids aren't able to burn off as much energy during the wintertime or when the weather's bad, we tend to see a lot more issues with sleep. So try and find fun ways inside that they can burn off energy. Maybe it's you have a dance party, right, where you turn some music on and everyone just wiggles their butts for a little while and just has some fun, just getting off some energy. If you have the ability, you want to have some creative play inside the house, that's always fun. Or even have the kids do some things like some yoga. Love yoga because of its positive effects in so many different ways, but it makes the kids move, and movement charges our brains up in so many positive ways. So getting the kids moving, using their bodies under gravity, getting their core musculature, getting their spine all nice and stimulated, has tremendous benefits to both burning off that excessive energy, but also helping with brain development. Make sure they've got a good mattress. I will tell you this is something that I run into on far too regular of a basis, is that there's not enough importance or attention given to the mattresses the kids are on. So moms and dads always know that it's really important that we give our kids proper bedding. Putting kids onto really poor quality innerspring mattresses can really negatively impact their ability to get good quality sleep. Foam mattresses are best, and if you're able to afford to get a foam-based mattress, those are always going to be the ones that are going to be the best and most supportive for our kids. If you have to go to an innerspring mattress, try and do the king coil style mattresses. King coil style mattresses tend to be best. Pardon the phone ringing in the background. King coil mattresses tend to be best if you're going to use that style, because of the fact that they're individually coiled mattresses, where one can respond next to the other accommodating for the amount of gravity that we're pushing down. Sheet spring mattresses are problematic because they oftentimes will create pressure points in our spine because they're pushing back harder than we're pushing in, and it'll cause torque and pressure points in our spine. We want to make sure that our kids are using a contoured pillow made of foam, and regardless of their age, they make contour pillows for all ages. We tend to like using pillows like the Tempur-Pedic pillows, but also there's another company called Purple, which makes a viscoelastic gel pillow that's a very good one. And there's a number of different companies out there that have gotten into the foam mattress market. And many of them now that are not toxic brands, which is awesome. So they're not putting off fumes while the kids are sleeping. So for many of you, if you're not aware of this, this is important. So we want to make sure that we are not giving mattresses more time than what they should have. They only have an 8 to 10 year lifespan. And once you get past that point, they're getting dips in places where there's uneven pressure distribution, and this can be very problematic and dramatically interfere with kids' sleep. Make sure the mattresses and pillows are free of allergens, especially because those things can build up when they're inhaling them all night long and build up in the sinuses and the respiratory tracts, predisposing them to having some respiratory infections and allergies. Use a humidifier at night to go and keep the nasal and respiratory passages moist. This also helps to prevent respiratory infections, but one big thing is that we tend to produce extra mucus when we sleep if the room is dry. So if we have sufficient moisture in the air, we tend to have better quality of sleep because we're not as congested, less mucus production, because we're able to go and take all of the things that are coming in that we're breathing and then wick them down in the mucus so that we can swallow them, so they don't also cause us respiratory irritation and infections. White noise can be very helpful. It's important to think that many times kids do very well if there's some white noise in the background, whether it's a white noise machine or a humidifier. Something that has that calming white noise can be very beneficial, especially if you live in a neighborhood where there is noise from cars coming through. Maybe the neighbors aren't the quietest neighbors in the world, or if you're near a busy street, things like that. But trying to make sure that we have some calming white noise that can block out the background noise is really, really important for our kids. Avoiding bright lights is a big deal. And things to think about is that we really want to avoid tablets, computers, and video games later in the day. The blue light is a big time brain stimulator. But the other thing is that we talked about the light receptors. So light receptors in the eyes and the skin will arouse the brain, so it'll have difficulty shutting down. But games in particular can lock our kids' fight or flight system into the on mode, which can severely disrupt their ability to go to sleep. I talk to kids here every day about the importance of having separation between sleep and video games. But I also make sure that when we talk to them that they recognize how they feel when they play video games and how it can be very difficult for them to turn the page. Moms and dads, you know this. If you find your kids are talking about video games a lot after they get done playing them, they're not turning the page. They're fixated. They're locked in. This can be very problematic because the brain can't stay locked into these types of things, and playing video games too much can cause this. It can negatively affect sleep. They can try and sneak video games. Really watch this quite closely with your kids. So hopefully this was all very helpful. If it was something that you found beneficial, make sure to share this with somebody that you love. In the next video, we're going to be digging heavy into study habits, making sure that we're maximizing our study time so that our kids can have the best and most amazing year ever. All right, so this is Dr. Scott, guys. God bless you all. Let us know if you have any questions. You can reach us directly through our EliteFamilyKairos.com website. You can contact us on social media. Follow us on Facebook at the Elite Family Chiropractic Facebook page. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. We also have videos on YouTube that you might find helpful as well. We also have a page that's available for our patients. But also we give access to the general public called Healthy You, and that's on YouTube as well. And so there's lots of great info on different topics from neurodevelopmental issues to nutrition to exercises to go and help to support the strength of your spine. So hopefully this was all very helpful. If there's anything that we can do additionally, don't hesitate to contact our office at the website or call us directly at 440-230-2300. This is Dr. Scott. God bless you all. Be elite.